So, good evening, everyone, and good afternoon, Bridget. We welcome all to the third day of the 4-day international conference on Ecocriticism, Theory and Praxis, organized by the Department of English of Ramakrishna Mission Residential College, Autonomous, Narendrapur, as a part of the Diamond Jubilee celebrations of the college. It is a proud privilege for the department to be able to host celebrated scholars of national and international repute on this digital platform. Today we are privileged and honored to welcome to this session a very celebrated and internationally acclaimed film director, conservationist, environmental and human rights activist, and elephant lady, Ms. Bridget Utter-Kornetsky. Ms. Kornetsky is a multifaceted personality with an extensive orientation in juridical science, philosophy, photography, art history, and music, which all led her to use her expertise in filmmaking for working towards the betterment of society. Her human rights films in Africa received recognition from all over the world, including the Vatican in Rome, for spreading the message of peace and peaceful coexistence and ethical values for environmental protection on a global scale. Her passion for re-establishing green ethical values and a peaceful future for the people, nature, and all living beings has directed her critical eye towards animal rights in 2010, especially elephants in India. Over the last decade, Ms. Kornetsky is anchored in India and has been making various films depicting the plights of elephants in our country. Her award-winning documentary film, Where the Elephant Sleeps, has been an eye-opener for people across the globe about maltreatment of elephants in the name of elephant tourism. She is currently working on Human-Elephant Conflict, Human-Elephant Coexistence, a feature documentary film set in Assam. She has been actively working towards spreading literacy about elephant conservation and biodiversity issues by accepting invitation to speak at institutions across the country. She also works closely to execute projects for the elephant welfare and supports local Indian organizations. Ms. Kornetsky is an honorary ambassador for captive elephants of the Federation of Animal Protection Organization, FIAPO, India, member of numerous committees for animal and environmental protection in India and abroad, founder-president of the charitable organization Elephanten in North, Switzerland, and also the Swiss ambassador for captive elephants at the Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organization in India. For her extensive work, Ms. Kornetsky has been bestowed with numerous prestigious awards. To name a few: Award of Excellence and Best Directors Award of the 7th Kolkata International Film Festival, Tipka Tiger Awards, Award of Recognition from the Els Van Sik Foundation, the prestigious Getica Award of the Zurich Foundation. It is an absolute privilege and honor for the department to host Bridget Utter-Kornetsky at this international conference. On behalf of the department and the college, once again, I extend a warm welcome to you. Bridget's talk is titled From Art Worm to Elephant, an Ethical Journey Through the Rainforest of Our Minds. It's over to you, Bridget. And welcome once again.
Namaskar. Am I audible?
Yes, you're absolutely audible, yes.
Okay, I still keep hearing this echo, but I think it might go away.
Yeah, you're audible, you're audible.
Thank you so much, Pranab. Good afternoon, young ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from, as you can see, Kashmir in Switzerland. We have a very, very cold period of the year right now. I'm sending you a warm welcome to all attending from India, from Jaipur, from Delhi, from Kolkata, from Assam. Oh, actually, from Assam. We have to do this. So yes, now. It's a good thing that we can all meet here in this virtual room. It's great pleasure, and I also take it almost as a humble emotion that this big honor to be here to speak to you at this conference in the Department of English. It means something to me, since my English is not perfect. Being surrounded by so many learned professors and students. Thank you so much for having me here. So I would like to give extend my thanks to the Ramakrishna Residential College and its directors and the principal, and also to Sri Pranab Kumar Mandal, seminar convener, for this invitation and all your care. I'm thanking all involved to have us meet here in the virtual space for such physical and critical topics we are facing on our planet, not just since COVID times. Welcome also the many students elsewhere and probably now in all the virtual classrooms who might remember me coming to your colleges in Jaipur or Kolkata or Golaghat or elsewhere and speaking about elephants and showing you my documentary film. Perhaps we in the department, we can share later on to the students the film. That would be great. I also have another one which is called Elephant Kitchen for you. So, yeah. Entering higher education, we enter the level of higher consciousness with a big role in ecocriticism. However, higher consciousness does not necessarily generate at our desks. There is no way to speak about consciousness without speaking about ethical values. And ethical values along human evolutionary history. Bringing this into the light of awareness, that's why and what we are here for. Our ecological illiteracy grows, a term mentioned by Pranab Sir that could not better point out our blindness towards our failures treating nature or natural resources as would they not harming anyone, not be available forever. As we all know, when we speak about ecology, we mean relationships and interaction of living organisms and their environment, basically the world around them, but also the interactions amongst them, trees among trees, animals with animals, or among humans. Environmental spaces are composed of multiple dimensions, and they are constantly shrinking and declining. Our personal lives by detection and exposition, our privacy included. The world shrinks to the availability of all and everything at any given time and any place. And moreover, we have 100 plus editions of all and everything, if not more, available. What for do we need this? Can anybody tell me? Dark times for elephants and for the earthworms. Let's find out what is going on between the two. I will take you on a little journey. I have become a pretty much down-to-earth person after spending years in philosophical discourses that were... He just wants to say hello to you. This is one of my babies. Where was I? These philosophical discourses were highly interesting, but they were not just satisfying me. So especially in the second half of my life, of which I believe I have entered, I had to do something, feel the soil between my feet and stick my head up to the clouds. I'm giving field research and grassroots level work, meanwhile, the most importance above all. My department is wildlife, conservation, and filmmaking, with being an ambassador for all three. Let me begin in front of my doorstep. When I go into my garden at night, Geared with flashlight and camera, with my naked eye, I can see an incredible nightlife rich of insects, worms, reptiles, amphibians, and lots of living organisms which are nameless to me, in and on top of the soil and among the plants. Soil is the most underrated and little understood wonders of our planet. But almost everything we eat grows on it. Despite being literally underneath our feet, we humans have discovered a tiny fraction only of life of the underground. And what's more, we have cemented and paved this underground world and within managed to keep us separate from this connection. How sad that is. Microorganisms provide an invaluable role to produce antibiotic compounds to fight their neighbors. The soil provides a million ideas of treatments lying under our feet, waiting to be discovered and applied. And the one who constantly works on it is the earthworm. He is the workaholic underground, making and sustaining soil. He is the restless penetrator of the ground, creating breathing holes and drainages to let the rainwater in and keep the soil in good and soft condition, so that plants and root systems can easily manifest themselves. Whenever I see them in the garden, I start praising them and feel very happy. Nitrogen and phosphorus are the nutrients for plants, and plants give fungi carbon to grow. This beneficial relationship is of important value. Plants matter decays and provides food for microbes, and worms provide food for insects, and insects for birds, and so on. It became a habit to always investigate elephant dung in the jungle. Wherever it appears with lots of worms inside, it indicates a happy story. In my garden tonight, for the very first time, I witnessed a rare spectacle, a couple of earthworms mating. After being under the brightness of my flashlight for some precious seconds, they were shocked about the sudden daylight and disappeared underground in a flash. I was lucky to catch that moment on camera. Images from my childhood with vast untouched landscapes, which no human foot has ever entered, still up today, determine my yearning to perceive nature. When I look into a captive elephant's eyes, I feel the depth of the forest sinking under my feet. And I'm deeply saddened about the lost alertness. A tiger in a cage that used to roam 40 square kilometers of its territory is limited to some caged 40 square meters. Not that the biggest cage could provide the freedom of the wild. How much more heartless and disconnected can we become? We have subjected the animal, stolen its dignity by pushing them into submission, of which we are afraid because this animal is so more powerful than we ever can imagine. Powerful by its nature. Nature capitalized, dear Swarnalatama ma'am. Apparently mankind does not tolerate something bigger than itself. Said number 2. When I was a kid, I always felt more at home in a forest than at home in my parents' house. The forest was silent, mysterious, with lots of animals around that can see me, but barely vice versa. And I spent lots of time there to the disliking of my parents, who were much more afraid of anything than me. The forest caused my attention. At home, it was boring. And I had a great grandfather who liked it as I did. I probably learned it from him. He and I were a committed team when it came to go to the forest and look for mushrooms at 4:30 in the morning. For me, it was, still is, always a sacred act to enter a forest in India. Shrubs, bushes, trees, grass, lianas, with all the fauna and flora around. My senses are challenged differently. There is no watch that dictates time. Nature is time itself, and every moment something unexpected, what we would call unexpected, happens in front of you or simultaneously at any other place of which we don't know about, but we know it's there. To look into animals' eyes, to listen to aerial noises of leaves and birds and all the communicating noises on the ground of a jungle will change your mindset forever. The wild got its own rules and regulations, and we still think we can rule the rule of nature. I'm pretty aware of the difference between, as we say in Latin language, natura naturans and natura naturata, to say it in the old language. That is the nature with the N in cap letters and N in small letters. Svarnalata, ma'am, you know what I mean. If in case you're listening. I grew up with the dream to become a veterinarian, then a marine biologist, because I love the waters and love diving. And then somehow I stopped dreaming of something. I was on my way becoming it. Close to what I dreamed of. Close to, I became. Because it was simply my interests that hold all together. It was like touching something and leaving to the next adventure through learning, pretty much learning to fly like a butterfly, through all sciences and my possibly available talents. Today, I almost feel like one of these endangered species, because my environmental clock is ticking deep down in my chest, at the same speed as the loss of wildlife and forest is happening, even faster. It is like a dung beetle is rolling the ball uphill while it's getting thicker and thicker. We have 24 states in India where elephants are found, in different forest types and landscapes. Human-elephant conflict has emerged as one of the most challenging problems for elephant management and conservation in recent times. Managing HEC, human-elephant conflict, is a big problem for forest officers and frontline staff who have to deal with it on a regular basis, and especially during crop seasons. But for the farmers as well. They are losing their crops and the work they have invested in their fields throughout the year in a fraction of a second, in one single night. Elephants are gourmets, as we are, and develop a taste record on the crops. Fatalities are high during the harvest season. Assam's elephants have developed a palate for paddy, which doesn't fall in the regular diet of wild elephants. As elephants venture into paddy fields, human-elephant conflict escalates. The major reasons for elephant deaths in Assam are electric fencing, deliberate poisoning, and train hits. And there should be no difference if we poison a wild boar or an elephant. The elephant is just the more intelligent and therein higher species which is endangered. In the same state, about 100 elephants died unnatural deaths during the period from 2013 to 2016, like on electrocution, according to media reports. In the northeastern part of the state of Assam, 70 to 80 elephants have died in the past 3 years. Between 2006 and 2016, also 10 years, elephants have killed more than 700 people in Assam. The situation has reached catastrophic levels. The area around Golakhat district is seeing retaliatory attacks on elephants, including fire spearing. Elephants die after consuming food laced with poison or dynamite, due to massive population growth and rapid industrialization. The habitats of wild elephants have been destroyed by industrialization and encroachment of humans, resulting in incidents of human-elephant conflict. Killed after being hit by running trains, killed due to electrocution and poaching, killed as being victims of poaching on different levels, and the basic loss of habitat. The Indian government has accorded the highest degree of legal protection to elephants and listed it under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act from 1972. As per the elephant census in 2017, India is home to some 27,300 plus elephants, plus a few. Assam is home to nearly 6,000 wild elephants and over 30 million people. So, can anyone tell me how this math should go per square kilometer? We estimate some 100 white rhinos in Kaziranga National Park, some 908 elephants in the same area, and so on. But how many people are permitted to live in 1 square kilometer? We are setting regulations for everything around us, but not for ourselves. Since independence, India grew over 4 times to over 1.34 billion. And we claim all rights for ourselves. This almost feels like the natural world has lost its meaning. It makes elephants, humans, tigers, leopards, and rhinos live in uneasy proximity, competing for the same landscape. As cities and townships expand, railways and roads cut across wilderness, and forests shrink and fragment. People graze their livestock in forests, and the cultivation of monocultures like tea plantations, eucalyptus, and timber have furthermore degraded the forests. Electrocuted elephants are on the funeral list as well. Around 450,000 families in northeastern India annually cultivate 10,000 square kilometers of forest land, with a total area affected by jamming amounting to approximately 44,000 square kilometers, according to a study on elephant corridors. Their natural habitat is drastically shrinking due to overpopulation and uncontrolled settlements of humans, and thus degradation of the forest and developmental activities. A subspecies of the Sumatran rhinos has already gone extinct in Malaysia a couple of years back, and which is an absolute tragedy. In one single moment in time, we have lost an entire ecological function with no substitute to it. When animals going extinct or being removed from their habitat, plant seed dispersal and plant evolution will alter and make an entire ecological system disappearing. There's no doubt that human actions drive species to extinction. We have left 5 different species of rhinos which are critically endangered. There's an evolutionary lineage of some 40 million years to it, and we are at the very end of it. We will lose an entire biological heritage if we lose the last 5 rhino species. My recent visit 3 years back to Indian forests and sanctuaries around Golakot, they had a disturbing part. I was accompanied by my friends, local activists and journalists who showed me places of encroachment and destruction in protected areas of forest land. All of these areas or districts were perfect habitats for elephants. They were breeding grounds. Corridors even were there, now bleeding. Rampant deforestation and loss of habitat shows significant impact not only on the herds of elephants, but also on the health and growth of forests. Illegal tree felling cuts a huge path through the forest to the place where the illegal mining is happening. Truckload after truckload will stir up billowing clouds of dust, and a sound cloud of detonations will echo through pristine forest land, forcing animals to leave their habitat and take detours because their normal pathways are blocked. Habitat destruction leads to biotic annihilation, and biotic annihilation to impoverishment of the planet. Why are rainforests so important to our planet? Rainforests provide habitat to millions of creatures with a huge mass of foliage, plants, and life, and they help to clean our planet's air and remove the CO2 released by everything, name it, from combustion engines to forest fires. Indigenous people live in deep harmony with their forests. They are their forests, as long as we let them live an untouched life. However, their living space is endangered, their land being taken away. Wherever we go, major corporations bring destruction. The forest has become a place of conflict. In 2020, forest fires in Central and South America and Australia, just to mention a few, have brought enormous destruction to both animals and plants and trees. Forest fires. In 2020, we have them almost forgotten. Australia has banned the world in front of the screen, and everyone could witness under his eyes how devastating the fires were. A helpless world watching animals like koala bears, kangaroos, and so many other being burned alive. Now, just barely 1 year later, it is like we have almost forgotten about this disaster. We have become catastrophe accustomed. The forest of the world is in flames, and the primary driver are humans with a greedy quest for economic gain. Slash and burn to level areas of rainforest for livestock rearing is one of the principal causes of forest habitat destruction worldwide. As grass is grown in the area for livestock, that land is leached out over time. Intensive farming releases carbon from soils, and we're losing soil 50 to 100 times faster than it's able to rebuild. With no rainforest to continue to feed into it, what started out as a lush green vegetation is eventually reduced to dry, barren, and broken land. The ground becomes hard as a brick as a result of the multiple burns and the alternation of blazing sun and tropical rain. The animals, buffalo herds, water bucks, the tigers, and the elephants are an example to us of what we should recover in our spirit, in our minds. And they are also a warning to us that if we do not recover this sense, nature will turn on us one day. Maybe as right now under COVID, because you cannot eliminate something precious in life without killing something in your own soul or creating a huge environmental damage. Such a thing doesn't exist. A recent review on documented field observations of elephants at carcasses reveals patterns of elephants' behavior towards their dead, regardless of the strength of former relationships with the deceased individual. The most common behaviors observed were approaching the dead, touching and examining the carcass. This behavior sends chills up my spine. Would we go there and show reference to trees illegally mowed down or any dead animal? Would we do this to our forests or lost wildlife? Only indigenous people will do. Would we remember the flying of birds from trees in the rainforest cut down by chainsaws of Recon oil, Exxon, Indian oil, for example, or any other? If I would personally witness this, and I did, it will never let go. So I had to witness a horrible suffering elephant for 5 long weeks, lying on the ground. Her name was Sita. And Sita is in my film. That has changed my life completely. That was 10 years back. I guess it needs something like this to happen to everybody of us to drastically change your own and very personal focus and understand the matter. Just a little better. Our indigenous ancestors were aware of the spirits of nature and have honored them. We, however, let destructive forces happen with our heads turned around. Followed by many questions regarding elephants. Do elephants generate strength, for example, from grief about their dead? We don't know. Is mourning a common social behavior that even strengthens the community? We don't know. Can we associate temporal gland streaming by a young female, in African elephants I'm talking, at her mother's carcass with higher emotions? What do we know? The motivations underlying observed behaviors are hard to determine, but clearly vary across circumstances and individuals. To put it into a nutshell, what we urgently need is a widely spread educational system in schools, colleges, universities to educate and provide tools for the daily change of a self-sustainable and responsible society and life. Try to avoid buying products with plastic. Eat fresh vegetable and avoid using any chemicals, neither for cleaning households nor growing vegetables. We need to share or regain the ethical values we seem to have lost in many ways. The uncontrolled man-made obstacles that bring the other end, wildlife, to extinction and us to the brink of survival. We need to pull up this conscious and change patterns. Only this way we will change industries, keep producing plastic, detergents, and all kinds of non-degradable waste that will stay in our environment of nature, in our nature, will stay in us. Simply, we don't use it anymore, and we will change that pattern. Animals. These poor creatures do not share our greedy needs. They simply forage the forest to satisfy their hunger. No doubt that there is an impact of mindless forest encroachment of the migrational behavior of elephants, the waters and forests of life, and the oil, wood, or rock industry do not match. So, thanks to GPS mapping, we have maps available which clearly show shrinking forest land throughout the years. I'm very grateful to a professor in Assam, in Golakot, who showed me these maps. It is frightening. Like 15 years back, with 1/3 of the same forest left. I'm speaking for Nambur Doigrung Wildlife Sanctuary, and we can now speak of local herds, meaning herds that do not migrate due to being confined in their little forest batch. And that's not all. Inbreeding of elephants starts when poaching is on the rise, because poaching is made easy in a situation that can be overlooked. Additionally, the destruction of the corridors which connect one forest batch with another by erecting factories and other industries in these corridors remain uncontrolled and do not contribute to human-elephant conflict, and do contribute to human-elephant conflict on a large scale. The industrial sector around Guwahati, next to Depot Bale, one of the largest biosphere wetlands of the world, mixes with the main dumpster of the Guwahati city attached. That's just one example of countless. When the holy river Brahmaputra overflows, all these trash will float into Depot Bale, poison and pollute the swamp waters and all living beings within. Here, I would like to recall Professor Swarnalathaman, what she said about the history of wetlands. What I find that this was very interesting what she said. If people keep considering wetlands as unpleasant, dark, and like wasted land, meaning land not for usage, is this why we are using this as dumping grounds, ma'am? I would like to ask you that question, in case you're listening. If this is something deeply anchored in some people's psychologies, we will destroy an enormous biodiversity of bird and aquatic life, including fish that serves as a daily food to the people living in the Bale. Fish they eat. All the waders die, starting from the adjutant stork to all the smaller birds. And now we have the avian flu. And I have to recall the bird life dying on Sambar Lake 1 year back, where almost 20,000 birds were just dropping from the sky in Jaipur, also in Rajasthan, around Jaipur, Sambar Lake. The forest we lose, I strongly believe, is the forest we lose inside. I feel like that. Wildlife and environmental crime is a common act of often legalized destruction on a global scale and with global impact, always finding loopholes. COVID again just proved on that. I personally feel so happy when I can plant in my garden. I recently planted a small forest on my land and was helping a friend in Jaipur who does an excellent work planting trees. He, together with local communities, planted some 30,000 trees up to now in the city of Jaipur. And I contributed some 7,000 trees recently, so a tiny little bit. So everybody please contribute to this project or start or plant your own forest and forest on your own. I will share Abhishek's contacts later on. And there's also, to mention, an excellent project by the Friends of Hatibondo, but Meghna Hazarika and Dulu Boro in Assam, which do an excellent work just to get rid of this problem for both elephants and humans. But Because it grows so slowly, we need to protect what we have. We know many of the problems. Intensive farming is one of them. It releases carbon from our soils, and we are losing soil 50 to 100 times, as I said before, faster than it's able to rebuild. In Europe, 60 to 7% of soils are thought to be unhealthy. In many countries, there's little data on soil. It's poorly protected and regulated. We grow on it, we build on it, we build from it. It filters and cleans our waters, reduces flooding, and regulates our atmosphere. It's one of the most biodiverse habitats on Earth and a vital part of the nitrogen and carbon cycle on our planet. Soil. But the sad truth is, soil does not have enough champions to fight for. We literally treat it like dirt. And yet, there's so much untapped potential, so much wonder, and so many secrets just waiting to be discovered in the ground beneath our feet. If we, and we do, lose large trees and thus the many functions in the forest due to rock or sand quarrying or oil fracking, we are suffocating ourselves. We interrupt the respiratory system of our planet. It will take hundreds of years to replace these giant trees, which represent the cornerstones of diversity and resilience for the entire forest community. The forests of our planet are its lungs and a complex ecosystem that cushions extremes of heat and cold, stores a lot of water, and creates very humid air. Forests are able to store massive amounts of carbon to mitigate climate change and provide important living conditions for wildlife and so many different species of animals. Organic soil carbon represents an extremely important pool. In tropical rainforests, approximately 50% of the carbon is stored in biomass and 50% in the soil. At the global level, 19% of the carbon in the Earth's biosphere is stored in plants and 81% in the soil. In all forests, tropical, temperate, and boreal together, approximately 31% of the carbon is stored in the biomass and 69% in the soil. The process in photosynthesis explains why forests function as CO2 sinks, removing CO2 from the atmosphere. Since this is a very big topic, you will find some information in the Edinburgh Centre for Carbon Management. I'll share the link later on. That is a very recommendable site on this topic, and it's worth taking a look. The oldest soil on Earth is thought to be in South Africa and dates back 3 million years. So back to our earthworm's journey. If we protect soil, we protect a whole load of other reasons as well. Currently, environmentalists fight for Nambo Doigrung Wildlife Sanctuary and the Ding Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary, the latter considered the Amazon of the East, to be upgraded hopefully soon as possible, to a national park. We're fighting for that. Rainforests are often inconveniently positioned over resources such as coal, oil, minerals, and others. The extraction of these resources can be apocalyptic in scale. In this wildlife sanctuary, we find 50 species of wild animals, 300 species of birds, including 3 species of hornbills, 40 species of reptiles, 155 species of butterflies, 35 species of aquatic life, 60 species of plants, and 101 species of orchids. If, in the latter, mining rights will fulfill the 28 conditions and the area will be legalized, we will lose more than half of the wildlife sanctuary and its precious and unique ecosystem. Coal Limited India had mined 73.2 hectares of forest land in the elephant reserve area already, illegally. In short, the damage cannot be repaired in a short period of time, if at all. The elephant habitat and corridors in the region are already affected by agricultural expansion, tea plantations, industries, and linear infrastructures like highways and railway tracks. Coal is a non-renewable resource. Destruction of a natural ecosystem for temporary monetary gains will push the local communities towards a deeper crisis in the future. I'm 100% convinced on that, and I'm not the only one. Plus, coal mining or oil fracking is one of the most damaging rampant human violations of natural ecosystems all over the world, not just in India. Blood oil, blood coal, blood rocks, blood water, blood diamonds, blood sand, name it. We are exploiting our planet to extinction until war is declared, until the ship runs aground and spills 2 million barrels of oil into the ocean that it just fracked from a wildlife sanctuary. All considered perfectly safe until it fails. And not just that the ship runs aground and creates another catastrophe onto the ocean. Fracking in biosphere reserves is extremely dangerous as it damages the biodiversity and growth of plants and trees as drilling pipes go deep into the ground, into the groundwater level, where trees root. The current world situation is a manifestation of our dysfunctional relationship with nature. We have been warned that depletion of wildlife habitats paved the way for the emergence of viruses like HIV, Ebola, SARS, MERS, any other coronaviruses which just in the process of mutating. Yet we want to destroy irreplaceable primary forests like Ding Patkai and Dibang Valley or Nambor Doigrung Wildlife Sanctuary, or the Bornadi Kalingduar landscape with its rich faunal diversity bordering Bhutan, and within the neighboring Jamutjanka Wildlife Sanctuary on the Bhutan side, with its wide-ranging species as elephants, tiger, leopards, Himalayan black bear, gore, Chinese pangolin, and 4 types of lesser cats. I don't want to mention all these lesser cats now. It's enormous what we lose and what is still there. So we have to get our act together. We need to protect forests from deforestation across borders. Deforestation will increase the emission of global warming gases and worsen the climate crisis. In Switzerland, considering it's a tiny country, up to 90% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from agricultural usage of the land. An incredible high number. India does have the 3rd largest greenhouse gas emissions on the world, as statistics say. And the main source is coal. Giving precedence to coal over natural forests is regressive, with progressive nations scheduling an end to coal mining. This is a depressing reflection of the lack of foresight and leadership in India, especially when humanity is threatened by an unprecedented health and climate crisis, said Rituraj Phukon, Secretary General Green Guard Nature Organization. Unfortunately, I can only agree. Human-induced deforestation, particularly from farming and mining, is creating a disastrous picture. Eco-sensitive zones must be notified by the Honorable Supreme Court of India and become protected areas of wildlife and wildlife habitat with strictest regulations on mining activities and anybody encroaching this land. Ding Patkai must become a national park as soon as possible. Although the government in India has issued standard welfare issues on the upkeep of captive elephants, the conditions of facilities are miserable and lacking basic understanding of the animals' needs. These captive elephants suffer throughout their lives. Why were elephants ripped of their families and tortured in the name of religion? Why is almost one captive elephant dying in the south of India per week, kept in temples or with private owners? Why were elephant babies captured in the wild and ripped of their families to live a most traumatic life under violence and submission by humans in the name of what? Religion? Celebrations? Worshipping? Why do so many elephants have plastic to eat? That's a new thing. Attracted by household vegetable waste that comes with other household plastic? Why do we litter our industrial waste everywhere we humans go? Why tourists have to ride an elephant, and even in COVID times, since regulations have been loosened on November 24th in 2020? Logging elephants are not permitted anymore in India, but still illegally logging is happening at the most vulnerable places. What power play is being carried out on the back of these poor gentle giants? Can't we learn and have open eyes to the suffering of voiceless creatures? Can we really be proud of a functional educational system that recalls to ethical values? The list of violations to our planet and neglect to Mother Earth and its creatures is with no end to it. Why have elephants to endure such disgraceful procedures by us humans and all the other animals as well? Having no rights of defense, we should step up and stand for their rights. The Indian elephant is smart, emotional, highly social, and intelligent, mischievous even, and self-aware, with a remarkable feature that is their size. And they are messy eaters. While they forage the forest, one of these gentle giants can eat up 150 to 200 kg of plant material per day and walk up 20 kilometers while foraging for food. Tropical rainforests, for example, have a high concentration of chemical defenses like toxins to avoid being eaten. So food is not that easy to find for them. But once they found food they like, it's easy to recognize because they left a mess behind. Stripped off leaves from twigs, pulled down lianas, uprooted plants, and huge footprints all over the place. This is elephant with remarkable eating habits. We have learned in the past decades how important elephants are for a functional ecosystem. We can synergize efforts and fight climate change by effectively protecting and restoring forests, elephant populations, and their habitats. If we are all beneficiaries of elephant conservation, we should be also responsible for protecting biodiverse tropical rainforests from which we all benefit instead of clearing them. Wildlife will manage itself and simply requires our absence, quite frankly. The last thing an elephant wants to see is a human being. So, this is an appeal to respect their territory before it is too late for all of us. While shooting for my new film on human-elephant conflict and coexistence, a friend in Assam showed me the breeding ground of elephants locked out of their migrational route. The barbed wire concrete wall boundary of the Numaligarh Refinery Limited in Assam blocks their movement and will injure every animal that will try to cross over. It is a heartbreaking sight. Elephants came and tried to cross into their natural habitat. One young female elephant died while bumping its head against the wall to cross over. Who allowed such illegal and criminal activity of an oil company? Why isn't it still stopped? The process to stop it takes too much time. Why do railroad functionaries not implement drastic speed limits on trains passing through elephant corridors nationwide? I'm talking entire elephant states in India, where railroads go. When recently 7 elephants were killed on such rails in one shot, and on a monthly basis, average 2 elephants are going to be knocked down by overspeeding trains, a cruelty well known since at least 15 years, if not more. I was witnessing the accident in Balipara, Assam, when 6 elephants with a baby elephant and 1 pregnant female were rigorously mowed down by the Guwahati Express, which runs all the way Dibrugarh-Guwahati. It was a horrible sight. Again, made me not forget their plights. 1 elephant survived a recent collision with a 40 to 50 kilometers an hour speeding train and then succumbed to its inner injuries 2.5 days later. What a horrible death can caused by industrial power for a wild animal. And why was the elephant not euthanized directly on the spot? It is absolutely impossible to ever recover for such a big animal from such an impact, from such inner injuries. Why not euthanize this pure creature on the spot? Why the pregnant elephant Saumya had to die a horrible death while standing in the water to cool down the pain in her mouth, where 2 weeks later, a pineapple stuffed with dynamite 2 weeks before, a pineapple stuffed with dynamite had exploded in her mouth. Why Sita had to lie on the ground for 5 long weeks, almost unattended, suffering unimaginable pain, both of her front legs broken, 1 eye blinded, and a fist-sized hole in her foot, until I could get the permission, with the help of Help in Suffering in Jaipur, from the government to euthanize her and some veterinarians. 1 elephant had died average 4 to 6 weeks in Hatigang Elephant Village in Jaipur, probably up to date. The MOU with the government should have reduced the number, but these elephants got replaced illegally, with most of them coming from Assam. Examples are numerous on a daily basis. Only few of them have entered media coverage. Had Saumya not stood standing up dead in the water, we wouldn't know about it. It would just keep going like usual. In a recent press release from January 5th, 2021, the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, the Honorable Ministry, recommended the withdrawal of elephant rights at Amber Fort and replace it with electric battery-operated vehicles. Thank you to the ministry. Please put that into place. You might have noticed that I'm talking not only about conservation, I'm also talking about filmmaking, of course, constantly. Filmmaking when your heartbeat is on the environment and habitat protection of wildlife, especially elephants, but any animals. The moment I do lift the camera, I do have ethical and social issues sitting in my neck. And these are often controversial. But this is why we make films. We are either filmmakers turned conservationists or coming from conservation turned filmmakers. No matter from which direction we come, we should have one common goal, and that is to change these matters. Elephants are constantly abused. They are made to stay in concrete stalls. They have foot rot, eye infections, badly healing wounds caused by the ankush, that is that sharp controlling instrument that the mahouts use, arthritis, nerve damage, eardrum damage, physiological damage, and they are constantly exposed to unnatural high levels of constant stress. They are traumatized with huge social damage within their souls and families. The elephant is the biggest and most neglected and tortured creature on land in India. So now, what to do? It's clear that this destruction and ruthless exploitation must stop. 1.34 billion people pressure the environment like anything. Maybe legality is in place, but the facts on ground level are often horrifying and not under control. We can strike a good balance only if some political will works in favor of saving nature. We cannot sit back and watch the natural world die an unnatural death just because the power is in the hands of major corporations that literally go over dead bodies. It's clear that we need widely spread education of these levels of how to tackle all the pollution, exploitation, and neglection of nature. How to act responsible with natural resources. How to live self-sustainable. How to teach others about it. How? This is what we should be working on. We have entered a new decade, and we will see more rapidly disappearing species which are critically endangered now, like the great Indian bustard, the golden langur in Manas, the snow leopard, one-horned rhinos, and so many other species. Not to mention collisions with power lines and birds to increase the threat, and electrocutions of elephants due to long-sagging power lines, as mentioned before. More than 100 species of high economic importance have become threatened and critically endangered in the Western Ghats. Among them, Stygium travancoricum in the Western Ghats has a population of only 15 to 20, I'm talking about trees now, 15 to 20 individuals left. Dipterocarpus bordellioni, another endangered species of trees, has only 14 individuals left in the occurring patches in Kodagu district of Karnataka, just to name a few. Not to mention collisions with birds and power lines. Only out of the 387 Indian plants listed under the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List, 77 have been enlisted as critically endangered. 6 are extinct and 2 are extinct in the wild. 3 species require decades for generation of the population, increasing inbreeding of trees. Due to limited pollen, inbreeding of trees and seed dispersal flow caused by fragmentation of the populations can impact the regeneration of the trees immensely. Urgent action needs to be taken with a systematic recovery program to protect these vulnerable tree species. Trees and trees are not the same. As all other beings on Earth, they build families and relationship to neighboring trees and plants. All trees can be of great importance for the forest ecosystem. Here, in mid-Europe, our eldest trees are about 200 to 300 years old, with the exception of some 1,000-year-old oak trees. Until reserved forests will turn into a jungle again, it will take a long time. For example, I found an important information in a German written book titled The Secret Life of Trees. Here it is, Das geheime Leben der Bäume, The Secret Life of Trees. In this book, Dr. Zoe Lindo from the McGill University in Montreal is mentioned to have found and investigated Sitka spruce trees with the age of minimum 500 years in Canada. Page 63. The researcher only found large amounts of moss on twigs and forks on such old specimens. Blue-green algae had settled in the green cushions, which caught nitrogen from the air and converted that so that it absorbs, that the tree can absorb it. With the rain, this natural fertilizer is washed down and added to the roots. Old trees fertilize the forest and help the young to get off a better start, as young trees are still a long way from bearing moss. So, if ever I could get a grant from your department, I would be happy to translate that book. It's written from a former forester, highly interesting, applicable for entire trees in the entire world, but studied on European trees, of course. With the help of your Department of English Language, we maybe can manage. Back to earthworm and elephant. We can consider the earthworm as the engineer of the ecosystem, with no other tools than a toothless mouth and some strong muscles to push the food down its stomach for processing. What comes out the other end is extremely healthy for the soil of forests or our gardens. You have to imagine it simply eat and poop while working its body through the soil. Same as elephant, simply eat and poop while it's working through the forest, up to 20 kilometers a day, foraging for food. These seeds travel far distances in an elephant's tummy. Elephant apples, wild guava, jackfruit seeds, whatever seeds. What comes out the other end is an extremely healthy for the soil and the growth of the diversity of a forest. And it disperses the diversity of seeds and millions of microorganisms, and thereby decreases microbial biomass, meaning bacteria and fungi, all over the forests. Wherever elephants go and earthworms dig. Without them, the soil is unfruitful and hard as a brick. These soil processing machines, so big that they tower over us and so small that we need to use a microscope to see them, They are key to the health of the ecosystem. Vermiculture, respectively vermicomposting, is well known to farmers and gardeners, and also practiced here in India in some villages with enormous success. Warm manure is a miracle to the growth of vegetable plants and trees, with some poop of domestic cattle added. Elephant manure, elephant poop is magical, as the site of the animal is, with the same effects to the land, just in the highest possible quantity. Elephant eat tough, fibrous foods and fruits, with its feces having a volume up to 20 liters, according to scientists. Nearly 1,000 times more than a dog. Here we can come in with the unified theory of pooping. Have you ever wondered how and why all these different shapes of feces come from? My simply scientific curiosity does have, as you have heard, some practical applications. I will leave the survey up to you. You may start in a zoo with these studies and identify all the feces of mammalian species to the delight of the director, and you will find all kinds of shapes. As a little kid, I started collecting my experiences in the forest and always bothered my mom with questions like, whose animal pooped this? With my eyes glowing, I was showing my hand-picked and proud findings in my palm to my mother. Her concerned short answer was, it doesn't look like yours. Baby. So well, the no answer caused me to find answers to many questions throughout my life, followed by more questions. Interestingly enough, in the animal world, there are feces which float and feces which sink. Elephant feces, as the animal is a herbivore, float, with the ones of carnivores sink, and in fact do stink. I will leave this to your interpretation. Don't forget to investigate the beetles in elephant poop. They are amazing, and one of the most hard-working creatures, adding fertility to the soil. So, stimulating positive effect that they have draws a wide bow from soil in which we grow our vegetables in our home gardens, or soil we are using for agricultural purposes, to soil that will nourish our forests and rainforests all over the planet. It is clear that we need to gain time until we manage to speed up the slow mill of approaching cleaner technologies versus the overnight exploding global destruction by industrial mismanagement and toxic emissions. Planned forests. Multiple use plantations will contribute to combat against desertification and erosion in vulnerable areas and protect the existing ones. We need to start in front of our doorstep. Start small, think big. Small steps in everybody's daily life will make an enormous difference. Let's try to stem these problems. Make it our goal to at least plant one single tree. The entire population planting one single tree. Imagine. I'm not saying making one single baby. From the perspectives of the street, it's much easier to tackle big environmental issues rather than from a technological or scientific laboratory that has to wait to gain the support of a special lobby to implement its results helping the planet create additional carbon sink. The solutions are there since a long time. It's the economic lobby that does not allow us to change. So we have to change us to exchange that lobby. And we will. We all have to come forward. Scientists, conservationists, veterinarians, biologists, wildlife lovers, stakeholders, mommy and daddy behind the couch, and activists with one common goal, and that is to help sustain nature and its beautiful natural abundance, no matter if at the brink of extinction or not. If we step in once it's listed endangered, it's too late. We should not let it come this far. So, let me end with bringing in again the picture from the beginning, the dung beetle rolling the ball uphill with the ball is getting thicker and thicker. And in biological terms, with a female simply attached to it. The female is just hanging on to the ball, not doing anything. I think we female should learn from nature. Unfortunately, we females have to roll the ball out of the disaster, out of this predicament, with the guys are hanging on to it. Professor Shamarisa Chatterjee will probably call me now an ecofeminist. I hope that causes you to laugh. But let's leave it like this before we getting into, let's say, the ecology of sexes. We are now only here to help and unfold the divine purpose of the universe. That needs to be understood. We are not taking anything to our graves. And to preserve this planet and the one and only life that we have here. Ahimsa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the so enlightening talk, Bridget. The heartbreaking facts and figures related to the loss and suffering of elephants have really pricked us of our conscience. As students of literature, we have had experience of reading and feeling the excruciating pain of elephant dying a slow and suffered death in George Orwell's essay, Shooting an Elephant. We have felt that even more poignantly as we watched your film Where the Elephant Sleeps. Thank you for enlightening us about the various forms of planetary crisis. You have illuminated us about how we are going on expanding this uncivil civilization at the cost of destruction of the forests and overall environment. Thank you for motivating us to think of protecting our rainforests, creating our wildlife sanctuaries, protecting the elephant habitats, biodiversity. We are open with some of the one-liners to live with, to practice in life. No plastic, no use of chemical to grow vegetables, no non-degradable waste, and plant at least one single tree. So thank you. You have all throughout tried to literate us ecologically. Now we'd like to take some of the questions from the students and participants. Bridget, there have been a lot of questions and responses to your talks. So
Great, guys.
you have succeeded in bringing our students from their shells.
Yeah, I love my students.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them so much. You have no idea. I would die for them. This is
Yeah.
your future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
cheers to you. Thank you so much.
you
So, but as we have to go by time and we cannot take all the questions, so I'm sorry and let me apologize to the students first. Okay, so the first question we go with Bridget. Here is if you can read that. Yes, it's on the screen.
Oh, yeah. How would you draw the line between civilization and nature? As in, how's the contrast between an elephant's eye and a worm's? Also, the first line of your sentence I do understand, but the second is a bit mysterious to me. The line between civilization and nature basically is not a line, because we are the nature. We just have lost that connection. Otherwise, wildlife crime and all the exploitation of nature is not explainable, in my opinion. If we would be still indigenous persons, people of nature, we would not destroy I would try to point that out. We would not destroy it to that extent that what we are doing. It's that is the thing. So we are part of that nature. We just have forgotten about it. Most, at least big corporations, they go, as I said, over dead bodies. And for what do we all need these resources? We don't. And as in, how's the contrast between an elephant's eye and a worm's? May I ask you back, what do you mean exactly by this?
Shomik, if you are here, can you respond to Bridget's query? Shomik, if you can hear us. I think we lost him, or I mean, yeah, maybe he's taking time to write more on this. So can we take the next question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Everybody can read that question as well, no?
Yes. Everyone can read that question. It's live.
Livestock and other domestic animals. I would definitely say any being is part of nature on this globe. Any living being a tiny small organism, a domestic one on your kitchen table, or in your living room, or a cattle, anything is part of the same nature. But as we distinguish between, as I said before, the nature and the naturalization of a nature is a difference, because we start socializing, we start humanizing, we start training, using and feeding from it. So that is a different issue, and I feel that it does affect ecosystems to a big extent. That's clear, and we need to basically reintegrate our domestic cattle, our goats, sheep, herding systems that nomadic people have. We need to give them the land. We need to have them out there as close as possible to the real nature again, because they frankly they are the ones who save, who protect the animals as well. So that's that. how important that is to monitor the populations. Regarding cattle, it is important because I'm speaking on lots of different continents, and that's not always the same in all these continents. So regarding India, what I've seen in Assam is so beautiful because they all have the cattle grazing out there. Not one bull I have witnessed personally, and I think it's not out at all. Not one single bull is carrying how you call these carriages, these wagons. The humans do. The bulls walk freely next to it. That is just a beauty on its own. And regarding our countries, our cattle is like next to each other, standing in the winters. They cannot even go out, even if they wouldn't mind the snow, but they can't go out because they are not easy then to, it has farming relations, farming issues to keep them one to the next in the barn. So on a very, very short chain, some can then step out. Yeah, but they cannot just graze in open lands as they supposed to do. So yes, there's an enormous long answer to that. It's important because I think we in Western countries we're producing way too much that we really need. We should again focus on what we need in families, in local areas. That's plenty of milk for everybody to drink, plenty of cows, fine. No one can tell me that all that what we are producing, for example, in Western countries is used. It just disappears. Sorry for that, into the dumpsters. That is a sad story.
Okay.
Monitor. Yes. Mm. Yes. The answer is definitely yes. Yeah. As we should, because ground level people, villagers out there, they know the situation best. There is no scientist on top of them telling them anything. They have different jobs. They should be included into the discussion. They should be included in the panels and be there and speak out their problems that they are facing in local communities. That's and I always listen to the people down there on grassroots levels and bring these messages up to governmental levels, because I think they should connect, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Any governmental decision taken is for them and not for the Supreme Court or anyone on these institutions. They are there for us, for them, and that's what should be considered, definitely.
Yes.
And that, of course, I didn't say that, but I thought it was included. Of course, that would contribute to the coexistence of human-elephant conflict mitigation drastically, if that would happen. We need to, that's also what I'm doing with local people, just to find out where is what happening, in what kind of field, how can we, build up the network so that villagers know where to address, not only just to the forest departments, because the forest departments are frankly overloaded, or they are not very well equipped enough to step in and do all this mitigational issues and developing issues. For that, we have also colleges, like, for example, in Golakot, the zoology department. We have towers of elephants. We step in and try to manage these problems together, all together. Yes. To know how we students and youngsters can act according to run this and aware the society. Yeah, Akash, I'm so often biting my tongue on that question, because what you young students can do, of course, depends on from where you are, but you can attend no matter where you are. Educate yourself on where are bird camps happening, where are communities which are dealing with wildlife already, or with wildlife in the street, be it stray dogs or whatever. Just ask around and join these communities and look what they're doing, and join them. That's the only advice I can give. I mean, it depends from exactly where you are. So if you're in a school in a small little village, then you probably can teach your community students, don't throw out the trash, teach them composting the household vegetables, put all on a dumpster, generate the soil for new vegetables, and all this kind of stuff can be useful. I'm happy to come to your colleges and talk about this, how this can be done. So yeah. Any other question? Anyway, media can be more. Huh. Yeah. That is wishful thinking. I hope they join in. That the media picks up these issues and takes that very, 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 very seriously. That would be the thing to do. Definitely, yes. Approach media. What can I say? Good idea. Definitely. They should spread the message on TV instead of bringing any rubbish on advertising. Just make a small thing on a video and film and send it to them. They should show that instead of the advertising. How you generate your little garden in front of your house door, and you can harvest your vegetable there. Yes. Propaganda. Right.
Okay, so we take some 2 questions or 3 questions on your film. So you have a lot of questions on your films as well. Here is one compliment. I mean, yes.
Thank you, Raman. That's very nice. Yes.
And here is one question.
Yeah, I think these are 2 things where also the population expansion in India, exploitation, the population rise is too high. It should be controlled, frankly. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to mention that. It's if there's belief that that children is still a gift, which is the truth. Don't misunderstand anybody. Please don't misunderstand me. To have a child on your own is an incredible treasure and a gift and a beautiful blessing. But to make all these blessings, like to provide the future for the parents, is we're living in different times. We should not just keep growing and growing our population. The same is is in China. They have, even put a limit to Tibetan people to have more children than 2. There should be not to the Tibetans, but to the Indian population, I'm saying, and other overfloating populations. It's like as I said, you have a certain amount of surface on this planet, surface on an ecosystem, and surface on a national park or a reserved forest, which is already containing like 101 rhinos or 900 elephants or whatever, and it cannot take more. There's I'm missing the word for that. It's there's a kind of level reached, and that needs to be regulated, 100% regulated. And regarding the consumption, that is something to my wonders that I do not know what to do about this. I keep watching this even during COVID times. It gotten a little bit better, so that people are not consuming that much anymore, but the awareness of is missing. There's something insatiable that as you say, there's something I need this, I need that, I need here and there, and it sums up like keep buying it means keep producing it. Stop buying it means production will stop sooner or later. It might take too long. As I said, the mills are very slow, but it will stop. So we need to get out of this enormous market of consuming things, and maybe go back to more handmade and crafted things, which you do in India already. So this is so beautiful. So there's no need on all these enormous plastic products and 50 kinds of kitchen equipment, some things. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely waste that the earth cannot take anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so one last question on your film. Yes.
I have a hard time with the first part. I do not really understand where the point is. Sumik, of course, the most important aspect, let me start from backwards, is that if I'm curious on something that I do not understand, or I want other people to understand, and I give it the value of, oh, this is important for others to know. For example, back to my Where the Elephant Sleeps film, that happened. I mean, Hatigang was frankly set up in 2010, and I shot the film in 2011, 1 year later, and they just were thinking, oh, now comes television, and we get the broadcast and the outreach and everything on tourism and our elephant rights and this and this and that. And I didn't know what door I opened those days. I just opened an enormous, I mean, the spectrum is not to describe with words anymore. And I was just driven by my own curiosity to learn about what in the world is going on there behind the curtain. with all these Ayurvedic medicines applied due to ancient books. Some might work, some don't. Elephants are constantly sick. It's like every month at least one died. The scene is horrible. So why? You and then you go from there. And of course, it doesn't stop when I leave Hattingen or the elephant village. It doesn't stop there. It keeps going. You keep carrying it with you, and also you will try. You will do your absolutely level best if it really does hit you that bad that it hit as it hit me. You will try your level best to do whatever you can. You know, when I saw the Depot Bail, as I mentioned to Swarnalata ma'am, around Guwahati, when I saw that for the first time, and I was walking the entire territory inside the dumpster and on the other side of the bale, and I felt like one of these adjutant storks, frankly, smelling the trash, almost eating it because your tongue smells as well. I mean, with all my senses, I felt something. What in the world is going on here? And then somebody told me, "Oh yeah, they have, according to a press release that I did on that bill, they have ordered that this bale will move, and not the bale, the dumpster will move, and this and that." 2 years back. Do you know how many trash we produce per day on a city like Guwahati or Jaipur or any other? It's insane. So we have, I don't know what I have no recipes for this. I'm just saying, if and I started by my own decades back actually, that I figured I do not need this. I just don't. I refuse, and not just I refuse, I just don't. And I refuse to be a bad example on this, simply. I want to be a good example. And this is what everybody should feel. You want to be a good example for your neighbors, for everyone, to adjust to that kind of lifestyle, to adjust to that kind of thinking, to adjust, to adapt. I mean, to adapt to how to say it? Also, things that we want to improve. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Bridget, for putting us stand before a mirror. I'm sure this has not only enlightened us, but also motivated us, pushed us from within to conscious actions in future that are sensitive to our environment, and probably we should be more than necessary to keep our own selves protected from the wrath of nature. Let this illuminating session guide us to think of our own actions. And to our dear students, if we can take forward what we felt this evening in action, through our action, activism of ambassadors like Bridget, or even the purpose of this little conference, we'll find some work. Let us not hope for a safer world. Let us work towards a safer world. Let us remember our poet Shukanto, and let us work towards making the world livable with our actions. If we care for nature, as Bridget says, nature will. If we do not care for nature, as Bridget says, nature will turn on us someday. Before we conclude today's session, I'd like to request the participants to be with us for tomorrow's concluding session as well. Tomorrow at 10 in the morning, we will be listening to another activist, a theatre practitioner, Professor Teresa J. May of University of Oregon, United States of America, to speak on the medium of theatre as instrumental to promote ecological literacy. Thank you all. Thank you, Brigitte. More power to you. We look forward to hear more from you in the future. We look forward to host you and the screening of your films in our college in the future. Let's think, let's act sensibly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful hosting you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you all for the comments. I mean, I'm just looking at the chat box and I'm seeing so many questions. I'm helpless. We both are helpless. As well. What to do with all this? It's heartbreaking. All your questions not to be answered. But try to. We will share. Pranab, help me now. We will probably share the written script and all in a document so that you will be able to read it again. And if when still questions are happening, you can forward that to maybe the department of Pranab and I'll get back to for talk under each other. And again, I'm happy to come to the school and
yeah. So thank you so much. Bye bye. I have already copied all the questions and yeah, I have copied all the questions from the chat box.
Okay.
And we'll see if I can put them together and send them to you.
Yeah, that would be nice too. Yes. So maybe can people then leave their email addresses there?
Yeah. Yes. I'll ask him then to write their email address, or maybe I'll send some of the questions and their email IDs to you.
Don't stress, Pranab. It doesn't need to be tomorrow. No?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So may I request some of our students also to copy that questions and comments from the chat box. So just to keep a record. If in case it's not happening here in my system,
black and white.
So please, you can copy. Yes.
There's so many issues. Yeah, I would be happy to speak about the black and white in the film. Yeah. Manipulation of the environment that make humans the apex species has turned to ignorant passivity with lesser accountability, compartmentalization and responsibility, and good old great solution. Oh my goodness. Animal exploitation is a spiritual trend in the trust world and especially in a country like India. Yeah. Yeah, the students they always ask how can we, and I'm so in a sense helpless because if I come to colleges or schools and I realize, oh wait a minute, they do not have a subject, a topic like this at their school. What we should do, what I would be very grateful for, if we somehow can address this to the government on the what's the department for educational school educational system, that we will introduce a lesson, a lesson at schools, at colleges, for especially environmental and biodiverse issues. That would be big progress. Mandatory. Goodness. I'm so touched by all your questions. I wish I could. Yeah, music, of course, in a film for the filmmakers. Yeah, yeah. Music is very important. It should speak in between. It should bring out the with another language to connect the and noise. Mm. The Avishekara, yeah. If people do not face, also literally face the matter you mean probably, then it, there is a distance between that. That's true. That needs to be broken. The distance between you and the fact that there's exploitation happening or mining happening in the wildlife sanctuary. Go there, take a look. It's actually a dangerous site. It's not recommendable. I'm not sending you to the mining site, but I'm just saying that a personal experience is facing literally the problem makes you move, makes you change. Absolutely correct. Yeah, and it awares people. That's what I thought it's in the very beginning when I said it's eco-criticism is not just on our desks. It's happening while we enter the world, while we enter nature, while we be out there and see, open our eyes. Ah, goodness. Yeah, very true. Yeah, Ramanto, you were asking recently if we have noticed that people have become increasingly cruel towards elephants. What according to you is correct? That's a good question. And see, the thing is that uh, there's cruelty. Cruelty is not all the same. When what we call the mob, like lots of young people, kids basically, um, go out and do um, chase, chase the elephants. So sometimes we steer the elephants with these columns, and they wrapped up racks in dipped in petrol, and the petrol drips through the entire forest, and it's a mess. So what we one thing is that these young mob, these young kids, actually that is their daily adrenaline. They need the kick. They run. You will see that in my film later on. They run against towards the elephant turns around and runs against the kid, so the kid walks back, and this goes back and forth. It goes like this. Sometimes it goes like that. Once that clashes, you know who is the one who will not survive this. So the problem is first of all, our elephant task forces and more educated people out there should go out and educate these young kids. Don't you do that. Don't you chase the elephants, because it will split the herd. They just go frequently to the tea plantation. They don't harm anything there. They just have to walk through it because that was their former territory. That was their former land, nature, jungle. So they're used to walk through it and to find their food. And now they don't find anything. But at the end is promising land. And promised land basically is a crop field. That's what they want to enter. So you know the story when you're from there, maybe. And Ramantanu, I just feel, talk to people. When you ever see this happening, stop them from doing it. It's all to it. Stop them from doing it. Yeah. It's a big topic in Assam. The mob, the people who, yeah, they need their daily kick with the elephants. They're waiting from morning dawn until late at night just to poke them and chase them and do all kinds of stuff. What else do we have here? Let's see. Arya is asking, your film Where the Elephant Sleeps highlights the acute lack of awareness among locals. What the role does our widespread orthodox outlook towards religion play in this, as per your experience there? Regarding the film, it's not so much the religion, the religious aspects. It's more the traditional aspects. Actually, they are used to do it that way, and that is for all times. And there is no education on food rot or on any diseases of elephants they have, on any mismanagement. Mismanagement is all over the place. There's nothing, and you cannot come from outside and just teach them, wait a minute, this is wrong. But in fact, they know that it is wrong, and they're still doing it, and they are not changing the matter. It's not in Kerala is a different situation, because they're coming all these, it's infiltrated with all these religious and money making and devaswams and temple issues and deities and worshipping Vishnus, etc., etc. That is very much intertwined into a bulb of complications. In Jaipur, it's not that. The issues are different. So yes, it depends in the area where you are, if there are religious aspects mixing into elephant welfare. Vasanti, if you're still there, hi Vasanti. That's wonderful information talk. Thank you so much. Thank you. protected. And killing elephants. Wait a minute, my scrolling is not scrolling here. Hans Werner, are you there too? I don't know what questions to pick anymore. It's just so. Santi Kundu, nice. Lorena, Reinhard, Lorena. Anyway, yeah. We will certainly try to catch up with all your questions, and I wish we could get together and really work on a plan how to tackle that, and different regions, areas, districts, to really, protect these highly vulnerable places. It's not our places, it's their places, wildlife. So I can only say I thank you very much for attending the session, and all the power and all the forces be with you, and stay healthy and safe. I'm Shah. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
We hope to see you soon in our college.
We do. I
hope
hope to see you all guys in India soon. Yes.
Yeah. Please let me know when you come to India. Please let me know.
Yes, I do. Yeah. I definitely will do. We'll see each other tomorrow again.
Yes.
May lecture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye. Take care. Bye. Thank you.
Which button do I have to pull? Down there. Leave studio. Yes. Okay.